Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And welcome to Safina Society, Nothing But Facts live stream. I hope you all enjoyed our new intro, which is we'll be starting up with every week now, or every episode now. So today, after a while off, a whole week that we were off for Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving break here in the United States, they got something called Thanksgiving, which essentially is a time where the original Americans, who were like these Wahhabi Protestants, they came to the country, and they supposedly made peace with the Native Americans, and it was all fake. And then they slaughtered them after that. And that's why some people are not really fans of Thanksgiving. But others have a different story about Thanksgiving. They say essentially that it was a habit. Every time that something good would happen, that the Americans would it's part of Christianity to have a Thanksgiving feast. So whatever it is. Either way, we end up having 2 days off, and people used to skim Wednesday off to be absent Wednesday. I think by the end of the decade, it's going to be a full week off, right? Because people just taking off. So what is it for most Americans now? You eat turkey, you eat stuffing, and you watch a football game in your family room with your friends and your family, mainly your family, not your friends. In any event, who cares about all that stuff? We have an amazing guest on. prop&co on Twitter is on fire. You guys got to get onto prop&co. Okay, it's on fire. I'm looking at it right now. Okay. Okay. I'm looking at it right now. Prop&co has been around, but it wasn't really fully active. It really found its so-called calling in Christian terminology here, because that is a Christian concept. Finding your calling, that's a Christian concept. But nonetheless, it's a phrase now we all use. But prop&co, that's what it is. It's at prop&co. He now has 89.5 thousand followers in the span of 7 weeks, essentially. I mean, how did you... let's bring Ahmed on. Founder and the man behind all the work. All right, Omar, let's bring him on. Welcome to the Safina Society, Nothing But Facts live stream. Let me start off with a question right away. Before October 7th, how active were you on Twitter? How many people did you have watching?
170 followers. Assalamu alaikum, by the way.
Salam rahmatullah. So you were basically a miskeen. Not you. Prop&co was miskeen. He went, what's the math on that? 90K times 100. What is the mathematics on that? Because you're going to hit 90K by the end of the week.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's a lot. It's explosive growth, and I wasn't expecting it. Unfortunately, it's because of the topics we're covering, which is, not a pleasant experience for the Palestinians, but it has been, I think, transformative for our brand, our platform, obviously. So bittersweet, but alhamdulillah, we're creating content, and I like to think we're making a difference. So I'm proud of the growth that we've had.
I think that the first video you did was the one exposing the 40 babies lie. Okay. That was the first one that you did. I watched that, and I put it up, and we got banned on YouTube for that. That video got shut down. We got striked. We get one more strike, we're off YouTube completely, believe it or not. Just 2 strikes are out. It's not like Major League Baseball. It's a lot stricter. So when I say we're off, I think that we won't be able to monetize or stream. But in any event, that was the video that got everyone's attention. And so let's start today's program with a video that you want to show us. Omar, are we ready to show that? And then we could talk about it? Not yet? All right, let's give him some time. So, Ahmed, let's talk about yourself. You're in the arts, the video, movie production business. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and your history?
Yeah, sure. So I am originally Kurdish. I'm from Iraq. I don't speak Kurdish or Arabic very well. I'm a disgrace to my family in that regard. But I grew up here in Tampa, Florida, surrounded mainly by a Palestinian community. It's a diverse community here, but I grew up around Palestinians. And through my proximity to them, I became very passionate about the plight of their people. And obviously as a Muslim, I see myself as part of them. So I never considered myself to be like a nationalistic person or anything like that. I just viewed myself as a Muslim. And so I cared about, the Muslim experience around the world. But specifically, I had a strong affinity for the Palestinian people because I grew up around them. And so I heard their stories firsthand. They told me about what life was like, in Palestine, what happened to their family members, et cetera. And so when I went to college, I was kind of this, I was just a young Muslim man, lost. I didn't really have any direction or passion or vision for myself or for my life. It wasn't until college, when you had the Arab Spring and you had the Occupy Wall Street movement, I found myself paying a lot of attention to politics. And I really started telling myself, what am I doing? What am I studying? What am I contributing to this world? And so I decided to, get more involved. And during this time, my freshman, sophomore year of college, you had these different attacks on Gaza. And so I found myself, getting involved on college campuses, first at community college and then in university. And I became the Students for Justice in Palestine president. And I wasn't passionate about my college studies at all. I was mostly passionate about my activism and my organizing. And alhamdulillah, we had a very large and active SJP chapter. And so we were able to get a lot of things done. And it was through that organization and through the movement for Palestinian rights that I found myself learning so much about the world, right? About capitalism, about colonialism, about imperialism, empire, history, geopolitics, and domestic politics. And I just found myself becoming a much more intelligent, informed person, alhamdulillah, through this cause. And so I was also dabbling in content creation. My friends and I, produced silly YouTube videos and things like that. And so when I graduated college, I couldn't see myself working, a corporate job or anything like that. So I wanted to continue my activism. And I also wanted to take the content creation a little more seriously. So I created a brand called Peace House. And that was a studio that I had locally that I co-founded with friends. And we posted content for a couple of years. We tried to produce Salah ad-Din. It was supposed to be a live action, production of the life and times of Salah ad-Din Ayyubi with a specific focus on his youth. So we did a lot of content creation, from serious dramatic productions to satirical content that would go viral online. That brand, Peace House, eventually fizzled out. My partners and I split ways. And I just spent, the last few years trying different things. I was freelancing, and I started prop&co as a hobby. And so I started just, taking my passion and my interests and creating content for YouTube.
I mean, there's so much stuff that's going on that needs to be sort of clarified. Tell us the process of making one of your videos, because it seems to be your home runs are these short videos. Maybe it's 1 minute, maybe it's up to 10 minutes sometimes. The latest one is 15 minutes. And tell us from birth to publication of one of these videos.
So initially, definitely at first, it was the shorter video that performed well. And
is that the one you want to show today, by the way? Which one are we showing today?
I think we should show the 15-minute one.
Oh, okay.
Because,
so Umrah had it right.
Yeah, and we can talk more about it after we watch it together. Okay. It's a long video, but I think your viewers will enjoy it, I think.
Yeah, we'll watch it.
Are you guys ready to play it now?
Yeah, we're ready. You want to... Okay, if you go... Ahmed, if you go onto YouTube, Safina Society channel, you can watch what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I see it. I have my phone right here.
Okay, good. All right, Omar, let's see. Is my volume up so I can hear it too, Omar? All right, go.
Do you really know what happened on October 7th? You think you do, but believe me, you don't. You've been lied to. we all have. The Zionist media has presented this event to the world as a Holocaust against innocent civilians. But the story couldn't be more different. The Zionists have been lying because they are terrified of what actually happened. You see, October 7th is one of the biggest ongoing cover-ups in recent memory. A grand lie to distract you from the truth. And it's been working. People have either bought into the atrocity propaganda lies, or they're too busy trying to disprove it. Palestinians didn't behead babies, didn't put babies in ovens, didn't rape women, they didn't torture civilians. So many of us have been so focused on what didn't happen on October 7th. What we need to do now is focus on what did happen, because Israel is terrified of the truth. And I'll let you in on a little secret. The truth that I'm about to reveal to you is what will destroy the Zionist regime, that will free Palestine. Yes, it's that serious. By the end of this video, you will understand why. Now, let's get to it. What really happened on October 7th, and why has Israel tried to cover it up? The truth is that on October 7th, resistance fighters from Gaza carried out a daring military operation against a juggernaut, and they succeeded. Israel, in its hubris, had begun to believe that the Palestinian movement was uninterested in armed resistance. From within the confines of their concentration camps, underdogs from Gaza had to avoid detection from constant surveillance by satellites, informants, collaborators, motion detection and seismic sensors, and 24/7 monitoring by 2G phone networks, border cameras, and overhead drones. They undermined Israel's security apparatus by planning details on pen and paper, feeding false information to informants, and leveraged Israeli arrogance and complacency to plan and operate relatively undetected. In the early hours of October 7th, a blitz of over 2,200 rockets were fired at the Iron Dome missile defense system. But this was only truly meant to provide the cover needed to fly drones over the $1 billion Iron Wall and destroy the remote-controlled machine gun turrets and communication towers. They rammed through the first layer of the fence and then created over 20 separate breach points through the main Iron Wall. Their immediate objectives: take out important nearby command and control military sites, and do so as quickly as possible before the Israelis could respond. So they split into small divisions and raced to their targets. Speedboats raced across the ocean and onto the beaches of Zakim, while paragliders flew over the wall and landed in various areas. Guys on beat-up motorcycles and pickup trucks used homemade anti-tank missiles to take out $3 million Merkava tanks and $20 million Apache helicopters. They conquered Ra'im military base, an important communications and drone surveillance headquarters, killing or capturing all the soldiers inside before destroying the server rooms. According to Scott Ritter, Hamas struck the headquarters of the Gaza division, the local intelligence hub, and other major command and control facilities with brutal precision, turning what should have been a 5-minute response time into many hours, more than enough time for Hamas to carry out one of its primary objectives, the taking of hostages, to use as exchange for the near 5,000 men, women, and children rotting in Israeli administrative detention centers, returning to Gaza with more than 230 Israeli soldiers and civilians. The result was a complete rout of local Israeli military forces. For hours, the Israelis were completely in the dark, confused as to where the attack was even coming from. Thousands of rockets were in the air, dozens of bases and military settlements, aka kibbutz, were captured, and multiple helicopters and tanks were destroyed. The attack came so hard and so fast that many IDF soldiers were still in their pajamas as the resistance fighters entered the barracks. How could these half-starved and besieged fighters have the gall to escape their prison and carry out an attack like this? No one in Israel could have imagined it, let alone expected. Desperate to respond, the Israelis began to implement scorched earth tactics. Their helicopters began firing Hellfire missiles and machine gun rounds indiscriminately at vehicles and people running in the fields. Tanks rolled through the kibbutz and main roads and shelled houses as ground troops exchanged fire with militants. This led to the deaths of many civilians. It was the most humiliating defeat in Israel's history and has created an internal political crisis that could break the Israeli government for good. Netanyahu, desperate to hold on to power, is exchanging accusations with the military and intelligence apparatus, as neither want to take responsibility for the humiliating defeat. Tens of thousands of Israeli protesters are in in the streets demanding that Israel agree to a hostage swap with the Palestinians in order to save their family members. And the crisis is external as well. The Palestinians have reawakened a spirit of resistance in the face of an ongoing military occupation.
Resistance has proven its value. This is one of the chants we've been hearing from Palestinians here who have been protesting in support of the prisoners exchange deal.
The Israelis thought they could expand the illegal occupation, steal more land, build more settlements, erect more walls, arrest more children, increase surveillance, siege, starve, and bomb Gaza to hell, and desecrate the holy Al-Aqsa Mosque without any blowback or consequences. The Israelis implemented a policy of brutality and deterrence instead of one of peace, justice, diplomacy, and it worked for a time. Palestinians had become complacent with the status quo, and the Muslim world was betraying the Palestinian cause and normalizing with Israel. But Hamas undermined all of this with their bold act of resistance on October 7th. The illusion of Israeli power has now been shattered. The veil has been lifted.
Power resides where men believe it resides. It's a trick, a shadow on the wall.
On October 7th, they exposed Israel's power for what it is, a trick, a shadow on the wall. And this terrifies Israel because despite all their wealth, power, and resources, they cannot defeat an opponent that won't go down. The Israelis were shocked on October 7th because they thought the fight was over. After 75 years of brutality, 75 years of occupation, of violence, they thought they had won. They thought the leadership of the Palestinian resistance had been cowed into submission. For all their walls, drones, bombs, sensors, radars, cameras, bullets, rockets, and jets, the Palestinian will to resist persists. It always has, and it always will. As Umar Mukhtar, the legendary resistance fighter, said, it's win or die, it's victory or martyrdom. This is a spirit that has reawakened in the Palestinians and their diaspora on October 7th. And this is why the Israelis are terrified.
There was that ant that stood up to me.
Yeah, but we can forget about him.
Yeah, it was just one ant. One ant.
Yeah, you're right. It's just one ant.
Yeah, boss, they're puny.
Puny? Say, let's pretend this grain is a puny little ant. Did that hurt?
Nope.
Well, how about this one?
Are you kidding?
How about this?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.
This is why they have responded with a disgusting level of collective punishment. When the Romans wanted to quell the gladiator rebellion, they crucified over 6,000 slaves and lined their bodies up along the Appian Way. For 125 miles from Capua to Rome, travelers would see nothing but crucified bodies. Israel's trying to do the same, but with bombs instead of crucifixions. They want to make an example out of Palestinian resistance. They're trying to show the Palestinians in the West Bank that resistance will be met with gross forms of violence. And they want their Arab and Muslim neighbors to know that they will level their cities like they are leveling Gaza. But this is not a display of strength, quite the opposite. It's a display of weakness. They are so desperate to maintain the illusion, the trick, the shadow on the wall, that they are destroying their reputation and exposing themselves in front of the entire world. And while you may think that Israel enjoys full Western support, there is a limit to what the world will accept. All over the world, millions of people are marching. The United States just witnessed its largest ever Palestine demonstration. People of all races and class joined together to denounce the genocide of Gaza and call for the liberation of Palestine. Western political leaders are slowly changing their tune, calling for humanitarian pauses and trying to negotiate a long-term ceasefire. And Muslim leaders all over the world are feeling the pressure as well. The Indonesian president and Malaysian prime minister condemned the Israeli attack right to the face of Joe Biden. The King of Jordan, who has historically been soft in his condemnation, is talking about war. And Turkey's rhetoric has been increasingly openly hostile to Israel and its Western supporters. This isn't enough, but it is evidence that Palestinian resistance is working. It is evidence that your voices are being heard, your demonstrations are being watched, your social media activity is working. And Israel is terrified. This is why they are lying about what occurred on October 7th. They do not want Palestinian resistance, whether it's violent or peaceful, to be viewed as legitimate or justified. They don't want it to be seen as effectual. They do not want their illusion of power to be shattered. So they have resorted to committing atrocities and spreading atrocity propaganda lies. They have to make what Hamas did on October 7th dirty. They need to cover up that their military was completely routed in a military raid in order to maintain this perception of strength and power. But the truth is, they are losing support from the populations of the West, and their economy is hemorrhaging money. They are losing over $600 million a week. Their government hangs on by a thread, and this weakness comes at a time when there is already tremendous pressure on their biggest ally, the United States. This cannot last forever. The clock is ticking. The protests are mounting. Netanyahu's days are numbered. Biden and the Democrats are facing re-election. The dollar is inflating. The Ukraine war is failing. The US empire is in decline, and China, Russia, Turkey, Saudi, and Iran are rising. The subjugation of the Palestinian people isn't sustainable. Their system is breaking, and together we can break it. This is the opportunity. This is the moment to seize upon. Pressure must be applied everywhere, from the West Bank of Palestine to the streets of Turkey, Jordan, Indonesia, and the West. The politicians and the media will try to move on from this issue, but we cannot allow them to do so. The Israelis, in all their arrogance, are buying us more time. They are insisting on invading southern Gaza, which gives us the opportunity to organize and resist before it's too late. We must not only continue the protests, we must escalate them. There isn't a single pressure point. There are pressure points all over the world that lead directly to the White House. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing in those areas, do more of it non-stop. You see, we don't just want a pause in the fighting. We want a pause in all of society until the issue is addressed. This can be accomplished by sustained peaceful protests in the heart of your cities. We must force this issue until the world pressures Israel to finally end their occupation.
Let this be a lesson to all you ants. Ideas are very dangerous things. You are mindless, soil-shoving losers, put on this earth to serve us.
You're wrong, Hopper. Ants are not meant to serve grasshoppers. I've seen these ants do great things. And year after year, they somehow manage to pick food for themselves and you. So who is the weaker species? Ants don't serve grasshoppers. It's you who need us. We're a lot stronger than you say we are. And you know it, don't you?
Gaza was the little ant that stood up. We cannot allow them to fight alone. This is not a call for violence. It is a call for mass civil unrest and protest all over the world. We must spread the word and let everyone know their system is breaking. It's been breaking for decades. This is the moment. We must apply pressure until we break it. If they wish to enslave the Palestinians, we must make them fight for it. And if we wish for Palestine to be free, we must fight for them. So let's keep fighting and see who taps out first.
That was really good. That was an amazing video. It was really like a short movie, but it was amazing. You got people here from Indonesia that are commenting, people all over the place commenting, saying they love this work. So that video must have taken, what, all night to make, or two nights to make? 48 hours straight? Because you believe it or not, I was watching, I was saying, oh, he hasn't put anything out recently. Figures this is what you were working on.
Yeah, so, I actually produced this original draft of this script about 3 weeks ago. But I was sitting on it for a while. I felt like it was missing something, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to say. I knew that I wanted to pivot and stop talking about what didn't happen on October 7th. I wanted people to really understand what did happen on October 7th. And I think everyone needs to know, but especially Muslims, because one of the stated objectives of Hamas, right, with this attack was to reawaken a spirit of resistance within the Islamic world, to show the Muslims that normalization, does not need to be pursued with the state of Israel, that Palestinian rights should not be forgotten, and that Israel is not as powerful as you think. And so I think us Muslims, we've been distracted, and I think very cleverly so, by the Israelis. They've just been flooding us with lies. Yeah. And some of their lies seem so pathetic, right? People comment all the time, oh, you guys are so bad at lying, not realizing that they're deliberately distracting you with these petty lies that they're very quickly moving on from. Yeah. I mean, they'll tell a lie several times a day and then move on, and you won't even remember the lie they told you a week ago. Yeah. And the whole point is to distract you from what really happened. And so I knew I wanted to make a script on that, but I sat on it for a bit. I was getting feedback from other people. The editing took me a couple of days. So yeah, that was the process.
Tell me what Scott Ritter keeps saying. And before you get into that, I want to read you some of the comments here. Someone says, Food says, I love this man's work. Jasmine says, this was superb. I learned something new. Gharib Naqshbandi says, amazing work. Muhammad from Sri Lanka says, you have a following in a lot of fans from Sri Lanka.
Oh, that's awesome. I have a special place in my heart for Sri Lanka. All Muslims, of course. But yeah, Sri Lanka especially.
Mr. Food Meat says he's from Saudi Arabia. You have friends there. Dominique Benzoin says South Africa, and we stand with Palestine. So you have people from all across, all over the globe. As you said, you have a global audience, and this is really showing it, because a lot of people here are love the video and are thanking you for it. So I want to turn to Scott Ritter. You quoted him once in the video. Tell me what he said about the October 7th attack from a tactical perspective.
So the article that I cited, and I'll send you the link for it in a bit, but in that article, basically, he was detailing the attack, and I went through it. I had to remove a lot of the extra details, but I think I got the point across in the video. But he was essentially detailing the sequence of events, or the stages of the attack. And Scott Ritter is interesting because he initially, when this first happened, he provided context for why he thought Hamas did it, but he did consider them a terrorist organization, and he considered it to be a terrorist attack. But his views have since evolved after seeing how the Israelis have responded and the gross violence they've committed. But also, I think after, he's obviously an informed person. He knew what was happening, but I don't think he knew or remembered a lot of the details. And so the deeper he dove in, especially into the October 7th attack, he understood, okay, this wasn't a terrorist attack. This was a military raid. And that is now what he considers it to be. Of course, he's not saying that civilians weren't killed. And I'm not saying that either. Civilians were killed. And that's, any time an unarmed civilian is killed, obviously, as Muslims, I think as human beings, right, nobody likes to see that. And so it's an unfortunate reality. But what the Israelis have done is they have lied, and they have deliberately tried to make the entire thing dirty, and tried to present the entire attack not as a military raid, not as a legitimate form of resistance, but rather this nonsensical anti-Semitic rape orgy that took place. And it's complete nonsense, but the whole point is to distract. So yeah, I'll show you if you like. I don't know if I can present and share my screen.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay, I just have to grant access.
While you're pulling that up, awesome work from Pakistan, says Frozen 2. Murshid says, are you single? He has a daughter. Okay, wow, look at this guy. Getting proposed. Zach is from Barcelona. He says, great work. Okay. Another request if you're married. Look at this. So you guys want to get married, make videos. Okay.
Can you see my, I'm just going to ignore everything you just said, but thank you, everyone who's offering. Can you see the article that I'm sharing?
Yeah, we're going to add it to the stage right now. Yes,
okay.
There we
just
go.
Want to make
nice.
Sure. Cool.
If you're on Instagram, hop over to youtube.com/Safina Society. Basically, just go to Safina Society on YouTube, and you'll be able to see the whole screen. Otherwise, you can't see the whole screen. Instagram, of course, goes long ways. Okay. We're gonna share a screen. We're gonna look at something Ahmed wants to show us. Then we're gonna turn to Emel's question. Emel, why don't you tell us on this chat, why do you think Scott Ritter is a liability, and who is Colonel Larry Wilkerson? So Emel, you put something out, MLS, and give me something. Give me some meat and potatoes on why you think that's the case. Scott Ritter, by the way, is a former military legit analyst for the U.S. Marines. He was the guy who was the UN inspector for the Iraq so-called weapons of mass destruction. He went in there, said there's nothing here. So, all right. So Ahmed, why don't you put him and this article on so that. Oh, you can't do that? Okay. All right, Ahmed, go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to show people this because this is something that I think I didn't get to go into a lot of detail in with the video, but I think is something that would be valuable for people to understand. So we mentioned the iron wall in the video, and obviously Hamas breached this wall. They did. I'll explain how they breached it, but I want to first explain what the iron wall is. So first of all, you guys know the Gaza Strip, Gaza, is 25 miles by 6 miles. So it's 25 miles long, 6 miles wide.
Okay.
And that is the Strip of Gaza. The Israelis have always had a border fence along that entire border. But a couple of years ago, Netanyahu fought very hard to secure funding, about $1 billion worth, to build the Iron Wall, as they call it. And this was supposed to be one of the most advanced walls in the world, and I'll show you how. So firstly, as you can see, there's an underground concrete barrier. So this underground concrete barrier is supposedly supposed to be 30 feet deep. And the reason for this, obviously, is to try and prevent Hamas from digging tunnels. And it also has seismic sensors. And so if you were to dig a tunnel, these sensors would pick it up. Israel would discover the location, and then they would destroy it. That concrete barrier, as it reaches the surface, then becomes an iron wall. And that iron wall is 18 feet to 20 feet high, and it has razor wires, and then it has cameras, radar, sensors. And every few hundred feet, there is an observation tower. And this observation tower has sensors, and it has a machine gun turret on top of it. And this machine gun turret is automated. So a couple of miles away from the border fence are these command and control centers. And these are the centers that Hamas attacked. And in these centers, the IDF, men, women, whoever, the soldiers are, working the shift that day, they're on computers and they're just monitoring all the sensors, and they're seeing, is anyone getting too close to the fence? Is anyone, if you come within a couple hundred yards of the fence, they will kill you. They'll either snipe you, they'll drone strike you, or they'll turn on the turret and they'll blast you. And this is a machine gun that when it hits you, you burst into flames. This isn't like getting riddled with bullets. No, you will explode. It will tear your body in half. And so every few hundred feet, you have this observation tower. And so you have a very sophisticated border wall. And, Hamas had to breach that. And that was just the first step of a very sophisticated plan. And so I just wanted to drive that point home, because not only did they have to plan this under constant surveillance, but they also had to get past a very sophisticated and multi-layered defense wall. And so it was tactically impressive. And this is what Scott Ritter and other people have been focusing on. Yeah. And this is what the Israelis are trying to cover up. They don't want people to view it as a legitimate attack. They don't want people to view it from a tactical position at all. They want people to just view it as like Hamas dug tunnels, because they're like, so they're foaming at the mouth to get out of Gaza and just kill Jews as if they're zombies. So I just wanted to drive that point home. Maybe now we can talk to some of your commenters and viewers.
Okay, good. Now, Scott Ritter, you mentioned him. I liked his tactical commentary too. MLS says he is well-meaning. He says some nice things, but he's very aggressive that Israel must exist and further American interests in the region. And he's also in trouble with the law. So that's ML's commentary on him. Let's see what else. I think he has some interesting takes. Of course, you have to take it with a grain of salt, any military man. Somebody's asking where I can see Ahmed's work. You can go to Twitter, get yourself an X handle, and go to prop&co and follow him there. And every few days, every few weeks, a really powerful video comes up, right? And so that's where you could see his work. Now, let me ask you something. I feel like we're in sort of a gray area. Or where do you think things are going now after this?
So it remains to be seen. I don't know how serious to take the Israelis when they say they want to go back into Gaza. So we've heard Benjamin Netanyahu and others say, when the ceasefire is over, we're going back in. And we're going to go for southern Gaza. And basically what that means is we're going to, either push the people remaining in Gaza to an even smaller corner or portion of the strip, or we're going to actually try and push them into the desert of Egypt and the Sinai Peninsula. I don't know how serious to take that. There's a lot of people saying that the Israelis have exhausted their diplomatic cover. For many weeks now, the West has basically said Israel has every right to defend itself. And they still do say that, but they are starting to sprinkle in comments about a humanitarian pause or a long-term ceasefire. They've basically been allowing the Israelis to carry out this war of retribution, of revenge, and allowing them to kind of vent their anger and their humiliation, because they were humiliated on that day.
Yeah.
And so they've played along. They've let them spread their lies. They've even repeated their lies. They said, yes, you guys were raped. Yes, your babies were beheaded. Yes, your babies were baked. All the nonsense that they've been saying. And they've let them basically carry out genocidal actions. Now that there's an actual pause and hostages are being exchanged, I think what the West wants to do is kind of convince the Israeli public that did you get it out of your system? Enough is enough.
Yeah.
But Netanyahu is insisting, no, that's not the case. So we'll see. I mean, the Israelis did have a lot of money saved prior. They had about $200 billion worth in reserves. But they are very quickly burning through that. They could go maybe a year straight. And that's why in my video I'm talking about, like, if they want to keep fighting, fine. We keep resisting. Yeah. And let's see who taps out first. They have a ton of money and they can go on, but can they go? How long can they go? They are casualty averse. They have, a sophisticated army, but their population is small. They can't take casualties like Russia can, for example.
Yep.
And so there's only, so long that they can fight. But their economy is hemorrhaging money right now, $600 million a week. That's what they say they're losing every week in the economy. There's something that people need to understand. 780,000 people that were working before October 7th are no longer working. That's 18% of the Israeli workforce. That's nearly 1/5 of everyone who works in Israel is no longer working.
Wow.
And that is because of internally displaced refugees, which is ironic. But also it's because hundreds of thousands of men have been called to go to war. And they are stationed, on the border with Syria, the border with Lebanon. They're in the West Bank, and they're in Gaza right now. And so you have all these people that were working, they're no longer working. A lot of these people work in the tech industry. Israel's export, their main export is tech. Apparently 50% of their GDP is tech exports.
Ajib.
So services, VC companies, whatever. They produce technology and they export it. And a lot of those people who work in that industry, they are, either fighting or they're displaced right now. And so they're taking a big hit to their economy. They've had to borrow a lot of money. They're borrowing a lot of money at a time when interest rates are very high. And the companies that rate, your credit, right? They are sending out warnings saying we might have to change Israel's credit rating. We might have to basically say like, hey, they're not as good a recipient of loans. So they're hemorrhaging money. They're borrowing a lot of money. There's a lot of interest on that money. Their currency is inflating. The only reason why the inflation slowed is because they spent a lot of their reserves basically shoring up and buying back their own currency. Anyone familiar with the buyback knows it only lasts so long. If investors aren't convinced, right, investors will jump ship. And
explain that buyback. And before do you do that, all those on Instagram asking how we can watch on YouTube, go to the Safina Society YouTube channel and you could watch there. So question, explain that buyback for those not familiar with it.
So basically, you have the Israeli currency, the shekel, and then you have a bunch of different currencies, and people either they buy and sell, they trade these currencies for different reasons. The Israeli government, just like every other government, has a reserve of US dollars because no one in the world wants a shekel, right? Like if you're trading Israel and India or Israel and the United States, you're not going to trade in the shekel, just like Saudi Arabia and China are not going to trade in the riyal or the dirham.
Yeah.
So you have these other reserve currencies that are stable currencies that people trade with.
Yeah.
So the shekel, just like every other currency on earth right now, is inflating. And this is a global phenomenon that's taking place. Every country's struggling with it, some more than others. Well, the Israeli shekel has been struggling with inflation for several years now. And this last year has been one of the worst years. And on October 7th, it plummeted. And essentially, the shekel became less and less valuable in comparison to the dollar and in comparison to other currencies as well. So if $1 equaled 3, now it equals 4, 4.25, 4.5, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And so people are dumping the shekel, right? When they see that it's losing value, just like with a stock, they dump it so they can at least get some, whatever they can out of it. So if I have shekels and it's becoming less and less valuable, I'm going to get rid of them. And so then there's a rush to the door where everyone's trying to get rid of their shekels, and then it just becomes this crisis. So the way that you shore up the price, you stabilize it, you spend US dollars or a euro or any other currency, and the government will buy back their own shekel. So they'll flood the market with US dollars and bring the shekel in to bring the value back up. And so think of like Microsoft, their stock goes down, they start buying up their own stock in order to increase the value, to restore investor confidence. So the Israelis have done this, and it's worked, but it's temporary, and it's only done so much. So investors aren't convinced, because investors aren't convinced with any currency on earth right now. They know what they've done.
Yeah.
And anybody who's paying attention, who's an economist, an investor who trades, they know how this game is played. They know that you engage in a buyback. They know you're at war. They know you're borrowing money. They know inflation is not going to be solved anytime soon. So yeah, they might hold on and ride the wave just to get that quick profit, and then they'll dump as well.
So that's basically the same way that people make their books New York Times bestseller. It's a technique that many people have used, which is essentially buying your own book. You create a shell company that goes and just keeps buying your own book until the New York Times recognizes that it's a book that's purchased and puts it at New York Times bestseller list. So essentially you're buying back your currency so that it appears to the world that tons of people are interested in our currency. Let's turn to another subtopic here. Tell me about Elon Musk and the Starlink aspect of the meeting. Forget the Twitter aspect of the meeting, but what is his plan with Starlink? What was the agreement? Is it an enforceable agreement? Tell people about Starlink and how that influences or impacts any future activity by the resistance by the people of Gaza.
So I'm not familiar if there were any updates in the last 24 hours or 48 hours regarding Starlink, but I know that Elon Musk was starting a Starlink terminal in Israel, and they released them in stages. So in some areas, you have access to Starlink at a certain speed, but in other areas, they're not going to get access for like a year or two at best. And Elon Musk has been trying to expedite that process. The Israelis have definitely taken advantage of the October 7th moment to say, hey, we need charity, we need help, we need this, we need that.
Mm-hmm.
And so Elon Musk has, committed to speeding up the process for Israelis to get it. And of course, because Elon Musk gave Starlink to Ukraine and he flew it on a cargo plane himself directly within a couple of days to make sure that the people of Ukraine had internet, people were saying, hey, why aren't you doing that for Gaza? So Elon was kind of like stuck in a tough position because 1, he doesn't want to look like a hypocrite. 2, he doesn't want to piss off the Israeli government. 3, Hamas is technically a terrorist organization, according to the United States. And so if he were to send Starlink to them, that's material support for terrorism. And he's already being accused of anti-Semitism. And so it was kind of like a minefield. He was like, damn it, what do I do? So he said, okay, I'll just offer to send Starlink to the Red Cross or internationally recognized organizations that are not terrorists. The Israelis were not happy about that, and they threatened to attack and destroy any equipment that's sent. It's not an easy setup. Like the Starlink terminals they require a lot of power, and it's not like sending you a bunch of solar panels with a Wi-Fi router. It's a lot bigger, it's a lot more sophisticated, and it takes a lot of power. So it's not an easy thing to set up anyway. And if an enemy combatant as genocidal and insane as the Israelis are, they blew up the USS Liberty, right?
Yep.
If they're threatening to blow up the Starlink terminal, then yeah, it's kind of difficult. So Elon is the real hostage. I've been saying for the last few days. He's been held hostage. They accuse him of anti-Semitism, and they nearly tanked Twitter a week ago. That's why you saw Elon all of a sudden like turn into a zombie, and now he's like just parroting and repeating whatever they say. And part of me wants to say, come on, man, have a backbone. If you have all these followers on Twitter, if you just said, hey guys, bail me out, this is the free speech platform, I think people would have done it. But the thing is, these companies have a lot of money, they have a lot of influence, and so the other part of me understands he made a big purchase, and there's a lot at stake. And so it's complicated. Even if people were to start subscribing and shore up, the losses from the advertising revenue, Apple could remove him from the App Store. Android could remove him from the Google Store. There's a lot of, like the EU threatened to have him removed completely from Europe. So it's not it's not like, okay, you guys pay me now. It's not that simple. So I'm not making excuses for him. But it is a really difficult position to be in. We all know how powerful the Zionists are, and they've wielded that power against him. And in a week, they turned him into a completely different person. It's actually incredible to see.
It was hilarious when he said, it sounds trite, but I just want world peace. It sounded like someone who just got really, got spanked, and now all of a sudden is playing nice, right? Someone who was a big shot of the siblings, walking around like he's the big, the big shot, and all of a sudden after he gets a beating and he gets spanked and he gets yelled at the principal's office, now he comes back and he's like, I really wish the world has world peace. Yeah, because you're so good now and you want peace now because it's a lot easier to do business and to sell ads and to sell Starlink and whatever it is that you're doing when you don't have to make moral choices and you don't have to upset anybody, and your actual opinion isn't upsetting the adults in the room, because your mind is one way, but you realize that all the adults in the room are on the other side and all the powers that be on the other side. So obviously he's a completely changed man. And I'm going to sort of guess here or forecast that type of bro attitude that he was taking the last year or two on Twitter. I think it's going to be gone. He was like a red-pilled bro in the last 2 years or something. I think that attitude is going to be gone because he's sort of been, he's been spanked in front of everybody.
Yeah, he has. This Twitter purchase, as much as he tried to say it was about free speech, God knows what it's really about. I don't believe, as impulsive as Elon Musk can be, I don't believe he actually tells everyone his true intentions. He's also developing AI. He has Tesla. He has SpaceX. Twitter may fit into that plan for different reasons. I don't think he did it necessarily for free speech. Maybe he did it to help the Republicans get into office. I don't know why he really did it. Only he knows. But, you know, that purchase was a significant investment. And that purchase also has exposed him even more than just Tesla or SpaceX did to the interests of many different groups. Now everyone has a piece of the pie. Yeah. And the Zionists made that very, very clear when he responded. He did two things in the last 2 weeks that really angered them. The first thing, he did an interview with Lex Friedman where he was pro-Israel like 99% of the conversation. But he said one thing that got clipped. He said, when you kill somebody in Gaza, you turn 5 kids into fighters.
Yep.
Which is a very reasonable thing to say.
Yep.
This angered the Israelis. Yep. The second thing he said, a lot of white people white conservatives are upset with the Jewish community in America because they view them as being complicit in the narrative that is essentially accusing or attacking the white community in America.
Mm-hmm. So
we beyond that, though, it's not just woke. We find it laughable when they say there's a white genocide in America, right? But a lot of white conservatives deeply believe this. They believe they're under attack. And in a lot of ways, they are in terms of messaging, right? Their culture, their identity is being picked away at.
Yep.
And a lot of the like thinkers and writers that are propagating this anti-white message are Jews in America. And so somebody commented, they said, you know, Jews want us to feel bad for them now, right? But they've been, you know, talking about us. So I don't feel bad for them. I'm not going to all of a sudden care about them and what they're, you know, they're saying that anti-Semitism is growing. I'm not going to care about that because you didn't care about me, right? As a white person. And Elon said, that's true, or that's correct. Probably an impulsive tweet, but he was just acknowledging something that he, you know, agreed with. This really, so these two things combined, acknowledging that tweet where they're essentially blaming the Jewish community for attacking the white conservatives in America, and this Lex Friedman comment he made about killing children and converting them into fighters when they grow up, this made the Israelis just basically go, okay, you know what? We're tired of this. You keep talking. You're threatening our narrative.
Yep.
Whether it's intentional or not, doesn't matter. We're going to make an example out of you. And so every single advertiser, they just hit them up and said, this guy's being anti-Semitic, pull your advertisements.
The lobby is just that strong. And what he should have done, I mean, if he owns Twitter, instead of exposing himself like that, he could have just elevated the tweet, right? I mean, isn't it not too hard? I'm sure it's not too hard. You know, put this tweet on everybody's, make it go on 50% of the timelines or whatever.
Right.
I'm sure
or don't
that's
say
not
anything
so
at all. You don't see Mark. Nobody know, even though we all know behind the scenes what Mark Zuckerberg is up to.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg and Meta, the CEO of Instagram is he's a dual citizen. He's an American and an Israeli citizen. We know, obviously, what Mark Zuckerberg's views are, but you don't hear him talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
People probably now dislike Elon more than they dislike Mark, even though Mark is obviously a Zionist.
There's not enough material to hate him with.
Yeah, he's not even going to comment on this, right? So that's all Elon would have to do as well, just stop talking, right?
Well,
but that's not part of his personality, I guess.
Someone with that kind of an ego, don't you see him after this wave passes and disaster passes by, storming back in some way, shape, and form to reassert himself, because he really sort of looked bad in the whole last 2 weeks?
Maybe. I mean, I can't predict. I don't know what kind of person he is really deep down in his heart. I don't know if he's like a highly egotistical person or if he's really just chasing the dollar.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. So we'll see. But I think there's no denying it now. I think a lot of people saw, you know, this is interesting. You and I talked about this when you came to Tampa recently. We talked about how the trick to maintaining power is hiding that you have power. And the example I like to use, if you're playing Catan, this very popular board game, I'm sure some of your viewers and listeners have played the game.
That's what I call Chinese Monopoly, right?
Chinese monopoly. Yep.
Yeah.
So when you play Catan, you're competing against others to accumulate resources and grow your civilization. And the person who grows the fastest and the biggest, right, wins. Just a brief summary of the game. So if you get out ahead too quickly, people realize, oh, this person might win. This person's accumulating power. So everyone starts working against you to prevent you from winning. So even though you only led in the beginning of the game, and since then you've probably fell off, doesn't matter. You stuck out, right? You were the tallest tree. You stuck out like a sore thumb, and everybody just knocked you down, and they prevented you from winning. So the way to win is to not reveal that you're actually winning, right? And kind of build behind the scenes. So the Zionist community in America has tried to maintain their power by hiding that they have it in the first place. And that's why anyone who accuses them of having power, they quickly label as anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
Hey, why are you talking about us being bankers? Why are you talking about us being so successful? Why are you talking about us having such an influential and powerful lobby?
Yeah.
Don't talk about our community. We don't have any power.
Yeah.
And the problem is when they wield that power, they reveal that they have it.
Yeah.
So when they have Elon Musk all of a sudden turn into a zombie, and he's in Israel, like literally held hostage, and they're taking him, on this tour, basically spanking him like it's a walk of shame. Like, hey, you you did not fall in line with our narrative, and now we're going to make you fly out here. We're going to take you to the kibbutz. It's raining. We're going to make you wear a vest, a bulletproof vest. You're going to look at a baby crib, and you're going to walk around the kibbutz, and then we're going to make you watch an hour-long video, and then you're going to get on a Twitter space with Benjamin Netanyahu, and then you're going to start tweeting, and you're going to just like bend the knee constantly. When people see the Zionists and the Israelis make someone do that, what they're really seeing is how much power they have. And so they reveal that they have power, and this makes them vulnerable. It doesn't destroy them, obviously. It's better to be power. It's still power at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I think more and more Americans are waking up to this. They're seeing, wait a second, why are these people so influential and powerful?
Yeah.
Why are they forcing people to go along with their genocide? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Are there many American conservatives who are non-Zionists? I'm not even going to say anti-Zionists, just non-Zionists, who are thinking with a clear head here, that are not agenda-driven. Because that's the type of person the only type of person that I could see that maybe is somebody we could talk to here.
So, definitely there are, American conservatives that are not Zionist or potentially even anti-Zionist. But usually what you'll find, Republicans will be pro-Israel and Zionist. But conservative libertarians, these people are not only anti-Zionist, they are pro-Zionist. Pro-Palestine.
Yeah.
And you're seeing this all over Twitter. A lot of the libertarian personalities, a lot of UFC fighters, a lot of these like tough guys, conservatives, but still, liberal in a sense. And they label themselves as libertarians. Mm-hmm. These people are pro-Palestine. And there's a growing community online. So yeah, definitely there are, American conservatives in that sense.
Can you name some of the big personalities that somebody could maybe follow on Twitter that are on that?
I'd have to double check. I can't think of their exact names off the top of my head. I just recognize their like user handles and their pictures. But chances are, if you're on X, if you're on Twitter, you have come across their tweets. If it's a white person posting about Palestine, chances are they're a libertarian. So, I'll send you a message later. Maybe you can share if you have like a group chat or something. But definitely, if you're on X, the algorithm is presenting these people to you for sure.
As much as we talked about Musk in that way, he's done an amazing job with Twitter. Like anyone who's on it is almost like addicted to it. It seems to be the only place that everyone that you could say is literally, this is the pulse of what the world is feeling right now. Facebook is something that I've said it for many years, that it's just something that nobody goes on anymore. It's only good for the marketplace. It's like a glorified Craigslist now. That's what Facebook has turned into, right? It's only good for the Facebook marketplace. Instagram is more of a celebrity thing, right? But where else is there to go that is the place where everyone's posting stuff so you could actually find out what is actually trending, what's true from false. He's done a great job with it. So far, the only little annoyance that I've seen is a lot of Zionist accounts be flooding my timeline.
Yeah,
so I just have to.
This is deliberate. This is deliberate,
Yeah.
and this predates this predates Elon going to Israel and the Zionists, flipping him. Elon was already Twitter was already prioritizing Zionist and pro-Israel accounts.
Yeah,
there was a tweet a few weeks ago where this OnlyFans girl, she's an IDF soldier and she's a porn star and she has OnlyFans. She doesn't have that many followers. She posted a selfie of herself where she's looking cute, and it's a top-down selfie, and she says, "When you're mean to an Israeli soldier, this is who you're being mean to." So using sex, using women, using feminism, using beauty to like propagandize the Israeli military and try to wash clean their crimes.
Yeah.
And this is a common tactic Zionists use. Well, there's no reason why that post should have gotten more than 500,000 views. I'm on Twitter all the time. I know what a good post is like.
Mm-hmm.
This post got over 120 million views.
Wow.
That's
insane.
That is the combination of like several countries worth of people. How are you getting that many views? It's very obvious what's happening. And it's not just her. It's like Ben Shapiro. It's Elon David. It's Dr. Eli. It's all these different Zionist personalities that are getting tens of millions of views. Jackson Hinkle was up there. All of a sudden, he's down the list. What happened to him?
Yep.
So we know that they've been prioritizing them on the algorithm. And, that's fine. I don't care if you prioritize them as long as you're not censoring and shadow banning us.
Yeah.
But that is what's been happening, unfortunately. And it's going to get worse. So
do you?
I don't know.
What is another platform that would even come close to being an alternative to X?
It's gonna take a while. People have been suggesting like a decentralized platform. The technology is not there yet to sustain like a proper, an appropriate decentralized platform, almost like a crypto type of technology, right? For social media. The problem is that the current technology doesn't support more than just text sharing. So you can't post pictures, you can't post videos. It's not going to be like a great user interface. It's just not going to be a great experience, and not many people are going to be there.
Yeah.
So the problem is that there are alternatives. There's Mastodon. There's all these other things, but people aren't using it, and people are not going to want to use it because it doesn't have a lot of the same features.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the problem. When you have a for-profit centralized company, they make a good product.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what we'll be able to compete, but there's definitely a need.
Yeah. Do you think Trump made a big mistake in going on Truth Social and leaving X?
No, it was probably an investment for him. He got a lot of users, collected a lot of data, and the platform exists in case something happens. Like, let's say, if they can make Elon switch on, if the Zionists can make Elon do this, they can make him do anything. So if one day he should decide, to go back on his word and kind of remove Trump from the platform, well, then at least Trump has somewhere to go, right? So never a bad idea to build your own. If you build it, people will come. And Trump has enough of a following where, okay, it's not going to be Twitter, it's not going to be Instagram, but he's going to have a lot of people on there.
He does have his own following, but as somebody who doesn't try to seek out any politician, and here we come to election time, I don't try to seek out any political news. So it's almost like whatever pops up. 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I was seeing Trump everywhere, right? Now it's like if you're not seeking out Trump, you don't see him anywhere. You really don't. And you wonder, how is he planning to win the next election? Just lack of competition out there or what? Because his visibility is so low if you're not trying to find his stuff.
His brand is so big, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that the mainstream media and social media and big tech and the elite, this is what they're learning. They are learning the hard way that even with all their control and suppression, they can't really eliminate what the masses of people want.
Yeah.
And what the masses of people think.
Yeah.
So even despite all the censorship with Palestine, the busiest hashtags are Palestine hashtags. Gaza, Palestine, genocide, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever they do to the numbers, you can't deny, right, that it's dominating TikTok. It's dominating Twitter, Instagram. Any platform you go to is just completely dominated by Palestine. And that's with the suppression. If they remove the suppression, it'd be like sending a rocket to the moon. Like, so it's the same with Trump. People, regardless of whether or not they see him, they are seeking him. Most people seek what they want anyway on YouTube. If they can't find it on YouTube, they'll go somewhere else. So they are finding his content, and his followers are very real. They're very passionate about him.
Yep.
And they've done a pretty good job, I think, of undermining the January 6th narrative. So January 6th, if you remember, it was, it seems so long ago now and it seems so ridiculous, but they really presented it like it was a terrorist attack. Like, the Capitol has fallen, you know, the congressmen and women are under attack and they're about to be killed. And it's Trump, you know, engaging in like a Hitler type coup. And it was all propaganda and it was all exaggerated. They took some truths, invented a lot of, you know, falsehoods, and they had, you know, undercover agents in the crowd. And they staged that entire thing, and they really they did chip away at Trump's support. I have a neighbor who's a Republican, and he told me, you know, I can never vote for Trump again. You know, I saw him as trying to destroy American democracy. Well, the Trump team and the Republican Party understood that they have to clean up his image, and so they've been working for years to get like leak documents out and do investigations and have congressional and Senate hearings about January 6th so they can fix that image so that Donald Trump can return and not appear as toxic. And Joe Biden is just doing such a pathetic job. Like, this guy, first of all, looks like a zombie and he sounds like a zombie. Sleepy Joe is really a brilliant name for him.
It is,
And then, you know, beyond just the way that he looks and talks and feels, he's a terrible president. You know, he was. I mean, it's a tough job to have right now, but he's a terrible president, and he's just greenlit a genocide, and so he's going to lose Muslim support. And he's going to lose that support in swing states, and so those swing states that he won in order to beat Trump, those are the swing states that are at risk. And so Trump, despite the fact that they've censored him and suppressed him and silenced him, his support is still very real, and I think this next year is gonna be insane. You've never seen. You're not gonna like. This is an unprecedented level of propaganda that you're about to be blasted with over the next year, and it's gonna get so bad as we get close to elections.
Biden only won on two things, mainly the contrasts. People were just tired. I think Trump and his being in the media exhausted everybody. It was literally exhausting. He should have just remained silent on COVID. Really, he could have. He was so far ahead in the polls, you shouldn't even have had an election. That's how dominant he was after he was cleared from the Russia hoax. And which is funny, to pivot to another point. We talk about Russia manipulating elections. I mean, what about Israel manipulating elections? I mean, the lobby they decide who's president every year. But anyway, or every 4 years. But Trump could have easily just sort of remained silent on COVID instead of trying to pick a fight with a germ that you can't unfaze, you can't unnerve, you can't bother a virus. Well, virus is not a germ, but you know what I mean. So he should have just stayed silent on that. But Biden was the contrast. Now that the contrast is not there, Biden has to act, and Biden can't run for president through Zoom like he could during COVID. He's actually got to move. This man cannot move. And he's too old for 2-3. There would be abuse, elderly abuse. I've said this many times. It's literally elderly abuse what they're doing to this man. This is a person who ask any 70, how old is he, 77? Ask any 77-year-old how many flights they could take in one day. When you're running for president, the last 2 months, you're taking at least 2 flights a day, right? No matter how good the oxygen is in the private jet, because you know that's why private jets, the oxygen's better. That's why they're able to fly and come off and feel like nothing happened. Whereas we fly 2 hours in a plane and you're like, I'm tired, right? Why are you tired? Because the oxygen's no good, right? Well, these private jets, the oxygen's great. He's not going to be able to do it. There's going to be if they push him, there will be so many gaffes. Forget tripping over words, let alone physically tripping, that Trump will basically have no competition, essentially. And he's going to probably take it home. And if he takes it home, he's unhinged. This is not a person that you want in a time like this.
You know, I don't know if Trump is unhinged. I'm not a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
I do like how he trolls the Democrats. I'm sick and tired of the Democrats.
Yeah.
I kind of subscribe to, you know, the view that Malcolm X had, right, where he said the Democrats, like, at least the wolf is straight up about wanting to eat you, where the fox is sly and cunning and tries to convince you that you're not, you know, his meal. So the Democrats are fake like that, and I just prefer somebody tell it to me straight. So even though Donald Trump was like highly Islamophobic and he handed, you know, Jerusalem to the Israelis, I don't find myself being as angry at him as I do at the Democrats, because at least he tells you straightforward what he's thinking. And there's a level of honesty that comes with that.
Yeah.
But with Trump, I actually don't think, and I genuinely believe this, I don't think he's an unhinged character. I think this is how they tried to present him. But when you see the way he handled Russia, the way he tried to handle Ukraine, he just wasn't as bad a president as Joe Biden. I don't give him credit. Like, he's not the genius behind these policies. You know, every president really, it's a revolving door. Every 4 years is someone else representing the interests of the deep state. So ultimately, the decisions on how to handle China, how to handle Russia, all of this is made by the Pentagon and the deep state establishment, the elite. It's not really Trump or Biden making these decisions. They do have some level of control, but for the most part, they aren't making the big decisions. This was planned long ago by other people who think about this constantly in their unelected positions. They're always there, and that's why they're called the deep state. But go ahead. Sorry.
I also think he likes to present himself as unhinged to his enemies. Like, this guy's crazy. This guy will do anything. Like what he did to North Korea. He presented himself like, oh, this guy's about to push the button at any minute. And makes his people nervous. May Madison is asking, why do you not post names of your guests? Okay, our guest today is Ahmed Hussam. He is a person who is from the arts world, from the film world, and he's now opened up prop&co on Twitter. Has amazing videos that you got to go see on Twitter. Prop&co is the name of the handle. Omar will figure out how to put people's names under under their video, their face.
I just added it now.
Okay, good.
I had to edit it. Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, there you
go.
So
I have my Instagram handle, and I also have the name of my brand, Propaganda & Co.
Good. Is Instagram handle, and Propaganda & Co. is the official name of the organization. And you could donate to it. How can people donate to it? We have about 300, 400 people watching now. How can somebody donate to Prop&Co before I go to my last two questions?
So if you go to our Twitter account, maybe I'll send this to you via message, Dr. Shadee. But they can go to our Twitter account, and there's a link tree in the bio. And when you click that, there's a Buy Me a Coffee link. And you can give $5. You can sign up for a monthly subscription. You can give as much as you like. So if you are interested in giving, I really appreciate it. That definitely supports our work. We want to scale up and go full time. So I appreciate you for offering.
Very good. We need you to go full time, to be honest with you. The community needs this, and I'm been sharing this with my friends, and hopefully we're gonna get Prop&Co, inshallah, the community meaning, we'll get Prop&Co up and running full time. Let me ask you this question: what did you think? What do you believe about Danielle and Amelia's letter? Supposedly, it's written here there is a Hebrew letter written. Of course, nobody knows what's true and what's false these days. I would like to think it's true, but then again, there are many ways to argue against this, say that it was written in duress, what have you. What do you believe about the letter? And for those of you who aren't aware of it, two hostages, Danielle and Amelia. Danielle is a mom, and Amelia is the daughter. And they supposedly wrote a letter to Hamas before they left. And it's in Hebrew, and it's dated November the 23rd. And it says, to the generals who accompanied me in the past few weeks, it seems we will part ways tomorrow. I sincerely thank you from the depths of my heart for your extraordinary humanity shown towards my daughter, Amelia. You've treated her like parents, inviting her to your rooms, making her feel that you're not just friends, but true caring loved ones. Thank you for the countless hours you spent as caregivers. Thanks for being patient with her, indulging her in sweets and fruits, and providing everything even when it wasn't readily available. Kids shouldn't be in prison, but thank you to you and the other kind people we met along the way. My daughter considered herself a queen in Gaza, and in general, acknowledges feeling like the center of the world. Throughout our long journey, we encountered individuals from various ranks and leadership, and each treated her with gentleness, warmth, and love. I will forever be a captive of gratitude because she didn't leave here with a lasting psychological shock. I'll remember your actions, your kind actions, despite the difficult situation you were dealing with, and personally, and the tough losses you faced here in Gaza. If only in this world we could truly appreciate being kind friends. I wish you all good health and well-being. I wish health and love to you and your love and your families. Thank you very much, Danielle and Amelia. Okay, they were hostages for 49 days. What do you think regarding the authenticity of the letter and the reactions to it?
The authenticity of the letter, I think I have to wait. I can't comment on it. I don't know. I wait for people like Max Blumenthal or Ali Abu Nima to do their investigative journalism, and they're plugged into the Israeli media. So if you give them a follow, Max Blumenthal or Ali Abu Nima. Ali Abu Nima is the founder of Electronic Intifada, which is a Palestine media site. They've been posting for like 30 years. And then Max Blumenthal is also an investigative journalist. He's been reporting on Palestine for decades, and he established Gray Zone. Just, follow their accounts, and eventually they'll post on the authenticity of this. They'll do their digging and determine if there's any evidence supporting this. If it's true, it's an incredible letter. It is interesting to me because, the Israelis work very hard to separate the Israelis from the Palestinians. They don't want intermingling. They don't want humanizing. Yep. And even though, if this is true, even though this woman and her daughter were forcibly taken as captives, and there's a level of Stockholm syndrome, perhaps, which is a very real phenomenon, they were still forced to mingle with one another and have conversations and experience each other's humanity. And so if this is real, and at the end she's talking about, experiencing kindness and wishing for more of it in the world, perhaps these hostages go back, and instead of being people who rile up the Israeli public to take revenge, perhaps they go back and they say, hey, we've been lied to all this time. These people aren't as bad, and these people are human, and these people have suffered. And because they almost died with them in the tunnels being bombed, right, they understand what these people are up against. And so if it's true, it's an incredible letter. One thing I want to point out, this woman who supposedly wrote this letter, she went viral in a video. Hamas released a video where they had her yelling. I don't know if you remember, but she did a video where she's screaming at Netanyahu at the top of her lungs. She had like a 1.5-minute video where she's saying, we've been here for X amount of days. You keep bombing Gaza. You're killing a lot of people. You've killed hostages. You're going to kill us next if you don't let us go. And then at the end of the video, she's screaming at the top of her lungs at Benjamin Netanyahu. She does not like Benjamin Netanyahu. She hates him. It's so obvious. And so I wouldn't be surprised if she wrote this letter. And I think it's interesting if she does. She's going to be very vocal. I'm waiting. They probably won't let her talk.
Yeah.
But if she does get a chance to, I can't wait to hear what she has to say, because I know there's no love lost.
Yeah. That's why there's going to be, the truth will come out in the documentaries that are going to be made, afterwards. And there's going to be a lot of documentaries made. We know that in the months to come and years to come, especially in the years to come when people, they're off the radar. Like, she's now on the radar. They're going to make sure she doesn't talk, right? I'm sure. In the years to come, when that target is off their back and they're not being watched or told not to talk anymore, that's when the truth will come out. You've been up a long time, and we've held you for almost 2 hours now. We're holding you hostage now, and you probably haven't slept much since making the last video, which was 15 minutes long with about 200 frames in it. Would have slowed down anyone's computer if they have one. But last question. Conor McGregor, is he going to be the next president of Ireland?
we've seen crazier things happen, so why not? He's obviously inserted himself into the discussion. I'm not an expert on Irish politics, so I don't know, but it's a small country. There's probably no Irishman who's more famous than Conor McGregor. And he's inserted himself into a conversation that obviously is a very heated one. He's unfortunately, he sounded like Islamophobic in his anti-immigration rants, but he clarified today, I think, with a tweet saying, I'm not against the concept of immigration. I'm against the way immigration's been handled by our government. I don't know enough about what happened in Ireland. I just know that a supposed Algerian citizen of 20 years stabbed someone. So it seems to me like this is like a mental case. This is not like an immigrant that arrived 6 months ago from Syria. You know, this is a guy who's been there for 20 years. If he did something, it's because something's wrong with him, obviously. So I think it's a weird case for people to get riled up about and make it about immigration, given that he immigrated more than 20 years ago. But I definitely, there's a right-wing wave happening all over the world. We saw the Dutch Prime Minister, Geert Wilders. He's a very Islamophobic guy, very far right-wing. This guy's been like mocked and shamed in the Netherlands for decades. He just became prime minister. And in Argentina, we saw this guy, Milei, very interesting character. He's far right-wing. This guy got elected. And so there's a wave of right-wing politics, and it's taking the world by storm. So we'll see. I mean, there's no reason why Conor McGregor can't be, an elected official in Ireland, in my opinion.
The Algerian man, turns out he has a portfolio of his mental illness. There's evidence that he's mentally ill. Unlike many of these other shooters where he's mentally ill, we just discovered it last week, and hey, there's a shooting later in the week, right? No, he actually has a portfolio where he has a medical record for mental illness. So he's actually genuinely mentally ill. And Conor was all about this in the beginning, but then today's tweet, he says, this is a huge tweet, I do not connect crime with migration. I connect crime to your government's many failed policies.
Right.
In protecting and securing the inhabitants of Ireland. There was a real lapse in national security. We need a brand new task force.
Somebody's writing these tweets for him, by the way. This is not Conor McGregor. You've heard Conor McGregor talk. He doesn't talk like this. So somebody is advising him, and somebody's writing these tweets for him.
At the end of his career, I thought he had what is it?
CTE?
CTE, because he couldn't put two sentences together. There's even clips of he couldn't put two sentences together. But so we'll see what he says in the speeches. But he's basically saying we just want peace of mind. Our visitors, our neighbors. We need legal immigration. Deport all those who are illegal, and there needs to be a brand new unit. Call it Ireland Protect. And you know what came to my mind? Jake is an MMA guy. Andrew Tate is an MMA guy. Conor's an MMA guy. And I have to be honest with you, I love reading all their stuff. And I'll tell you, I figured out why I like it, right? So I put up recently here, I'll tell you the reason fighters make great social media commentators. Number one, they come from a binary world. They make decisions. They don't sit in the middle. Why? In their world, it's you versus an enemy. So whenever they exit that world and they go into the real world, I think that they break it up in the same way. There's me and there's a guy punching me. Either I punch him first or he punches me first. So Jake Shields was, for example, in the middle for about a week. As soon as he went one way, he put the pedal to the metal, if you notice, right? It's like he made a quick decision and that's it. There's no looking back. That's the mentality of someone who's in a binary world, right? It's either me or you. Secondly, these guys aren't overeducated. It's very easy to read their stuff, right? And it seems like they're so, I don't want to say uneducated, but they're not educated enough to realize, shoot, I should do some research before talking, right? No, they don't. They don't wait. They just talk, right? And if they make a mistake, they deal with it, right? But they're easy. Their language is easy to read, very simple to read, and it's also they make a decision quickly. And you know what position they're on. And so that's why I think these guys gain traction. And in a world where this is a world that elevates simplicity. There used to be a world that elevated intelligence. research, studying. In the fast-paced world with 8 billion people, that stuff is downgraded, I think for worse, of course. And the simple thing is elevated, right? Simple binaries. This is my position. Boom, 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 right? Also, he's from a rude culture. The fighting world is rude. You don't expect him to be polite. That's the beauty of it. You expect trash talking to come from him. Whereas, let's say, I don't know, name some other profession, a lawyer gets involved in this. A lawyer, you got a nice manicured lawn. A doctor, for example, or Vivek. You guys got a manicured lawn. We expect you to be polite. When you're not polite, it's an act. But Trump, construction business, MMA guys, they're trash talking all day. You expect it from them, and that's what actually sells. These put downs and making fun of people, and so you expect it from them, but it's also what sells, unfortunately. Right. So that's why I think he's a shoo-in. If he wants to, he'd be president.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, he was the pride and joy of Ireland for a time when he was top of the MMA world. I mean, people just loved him. And it's not just in Ireland, it's all over the Western world. He's a beloved figure. And I think a lot of Muslims liked him as well until he got into the fight with Habib and he started saying all this Islamophobic stuff. So I think he turned off a lot of Muslims there. But, you know, I think a lot of Muslims do still respect him as a fighter because he was very entertaining and he was very brave. And all fighters have to be brave. They're fearless, right? They take blows to the head. You know, they get choked out. They do that to other people. So they're not afraid. And so I think the reason why they're so fearless and unfiltered when they're on social media is because who's going to make them shut up? You know, like they fight for a living. Who's going to shut them up? And you often see these fighters all the time, you know, telling people on Twitter, say that to my face, you know, name the time and place, I'll come beat you. Jake Shields does that all the time. He's always saying, come fight me. He's ready to fight at any time. So, yeah, they're definitely fearless, unfiltered, and they have their finger on the pulse of, you know, the masses of people. So, yeah, I think you hit it on the head. I could totally see him. We saw Donald Trump do it. We're seeing populist figures all over the world do it. There's no reason. And Ireland's a small country anyway. Everybody knows him. I mean, doesn't have to do any advertising. Just tweet, and he'll reach millions of people. He could call for a protest and like that fill the streets. So if he ran, I think he could definitely win.
The other commonalities, they're from the entertainment business, right? Trump did, 8 years as the celebrity, whatever's it called, The Apprentice. And these fighters are, not only they're brave, they can take a hit, give a hit, they're also entertainers, right? They know how to keep the masses, as Gladiator said, are you entertained? Right, so that's their business, and getting elected. That's why democracy is really a dumb system, right? Because you're electing somebody on qualities that have nothing to do with, you know, actual leadership. Nothing to do with the job. So we kept you a long time. I'd like to bring you on for short clips later on, like maybe as like a type of correspondent. As a correspondent.
I'd love to. I really enjoyed this. I don't do this very often, but I'd love to. And this is my first time. I know I'm kind of low energy, but you hit it. I mean, you said it. I have not slept at all, and it's just because of my editing schedule for the last few days.
No, I was
next
with.
Time, hopefully, I'll be more energetic. You know, I'll have a better sleep schedule, and but I'd love to participate. I really appreciate you bringing me on.
No, definitely. I mean, we were together in Tampa from like midnight to like 2 a.m, and it was fueled up. So you listen. Next time you have a video, every time you have a video, right? Come on, we'll watch the video. You talk about it for 5-10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then that'll be a little keeping us updated, keeping us posted.
Sure. Okay. Let's do it. If I can just leave your viewers with a final comment.
Sure.
We didn't talk a lot about why I created Propaganda & Co. But for me, I hate being lied to, and I like pursuing the truth. And for me, pursuing the truth oftentimes meant understanding geopolitics, because I feel like that's the source of a lot of the raw reality of the world. And so if you want to understand what's happening and why it's happening months before it becomes an issue, you know, you go to the source of the problem, the source of the action. And to me, that's geopolitics. And so I wanted to make a platform that produced content about geopolitics to help people understand what's really happening on Earth. But also we chose the name Propaganda&Co because everything is propaganda. Yeah. And we have an intro where we say, trust nothing. Like you don't trust anything you hear, not even me, right?
100%.
Consume as much information as you can and make an informed decision for yourself.
100%.
And we call our community of followers the propagandists because we all work together to propagate a message to help change people's consciousness. And hopefully through that, make the world a better place. And with Gaza, part of the reason why our videos went viral is because people naturally saw, okay, we're trying to address the lies. We're trying to spread the truth. And so they hopped into our Telegram, which you can find in the link tree in the bio of our Twitter account. And they were helping us circumvent the censorship. So my personal account on Instagram got banned and deleted 3 times in a week.
Wow.
Twitter, alhamdulillah, Twitter wasn't that bad, but we did have some posts that were censored.
Wow.
But Twitter's, for the most part, been the best. But our followers took our videos. They downloaded it themselves, which we give everyone permission to do. You can go on our website. Everything's on our link tree. You can download it from our Telegram or from our website, and we tell people upload it to your own personal accounts. So in the same way that, Hamas is forced into the tunnels to post, to fight and to resist, we're forced into the underground, right, of the internet. And we're forced to try and circumvent censorship and try to get the message out. And that's only possible because of our community. So for those of you listening, if you appreciate our content, you don't have to give us money. Join our community, become a propagandist, help us spread the word, help us, download our videos, upload it yourselves, share our content, do whatever you can. We have to work together to propagate a message and cut through the lies. So that's just what I wanted to say and end, with that. So I appreciate you bringing me on. I'd love to be back. Inshallah, I'll let you know next time in advance when the next video is coming out, and I look forward to it.
Okay, wonderful. We look forward to premiere. We'll have premieres here on the stream on the day that you put out a video. So we'll be looking forward to that. Again, everyone, this is Ahmed from Propaganda&Co. He's from sunny Florida. And again, Propaganda&Co. Check it out. Go on Twitter. Support them on Linktree. We're going to need this going forward. There's always propaganda. Every government lies. All they have to do is stay in power, so they have to lie to do this. So let's uncover that truth. So Jazakallah khair. Thank you again for coming on. And this won't be the last time. We'll see you again in the future, inshallah.
Inshallah. Yakum.
All right.
Jazakallah khair. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Take care. All right, folks, let's go to some Q&A. I've been here for a long time, so we need a long stream. Let's get that pizza. What's his YouTube and Twitter? Again, it's prop&co. Okay, prop&co. All right. All right, Nasreen is asking, Nasreen Bilal. That's Moroccan for sure, no doubt about that. Okay. All right, folks, put your questions, put your comments. Instagram, YouTube, while we eat. Put your comments, put your questions, and everything, whatever it is you guys want. Put it out there while I take a bite.
Inshallah, Q&A.
Yeah, Q&A.
Please send your questions. Send by email. Can you bring on Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro?
Yaakov Shapiro, why don't you
I think
Google
I
him.
reached out to him. I'm not sure if it was him.
Non-boycotted show to bring it. Where are we on the boycotts? I mean, I personally have a mental bandwidth of like boycotting one thing or two things. There's some sugar. Let's put some. Where are we on the boycotts, by the way? How many things can you boycott? Disney and Starbucks?
You said where the boycotts at?
Eddie, come.
You're good. Inshallah.
Why do you scare away from talking about jihad? Not the inner thing. Slavery. Offensive J. Well, you did it yourself. Why did you say offensive J? Say jihad. Right? So you yourself didn't want to say offensive jihad. So why are you bothering me? Concubines. All this stuff is probably going to come back. Listen, when it comes back, don't be so excited because it's going to come back on our daughters and our wives first before it comes back to anything else. When it comes back, it's going to come back to the whole world. If that order of things comes back, okay, that people enslave others, people make concubines out of the women, female slaves. It's not coming back in one way. Like you think this is some kind of a party and an orgy that you're going to have as a mujahid? No, right? It's going to come back in a way that you also don't like. Your daughter, your wife, okay, your sister. Comes back everywhere. When something comes down to the earth, it comes for everyone and against everybody. Okay. So don't be so excited about having, oh, we're going to have concubines and be mujahideen. Bro, you don't want ever to engage in a fight. You wouldn't want it. It's not Ridley Scott movies here. Okay. You want to go into something. Listen, right now, how many of us would enter the ring with another person who doesn't want to kill us, just wants to make us tap out? This is not a fun thing to do. This is not something you would ever want to do. Okay? When this happens, you be coming back without an eye, nose chopped off, no arm. Okay, you got no arm. Take as many concubines as not. You don't want no arm, right? You got no arms. And what are you going to be pleased with concubines now, right?
No, yeah, that whole thing about like jihadi, it's like very glorified. Sort of like how war is glorified now.
Yeah.
Very glorified, but they don't think about the trauma that comes with it.
Bro, I don't know how they used to do the old-fashioned war. Only reason, I view it like flying planes. When I fly a plane, and I think to myself, I'm 30,000 feet in the air, right? The only reason you get some kind of calmness is you see a whole bunch of other sane people with you. Same thing with old-fashioned war, okay? When they're going and they're going to be enmeshed with the enemy, everyone's hitting anyone. You don't even know who you're hitting, who you're striking, right? I don't know how anyone comes out of that normal, and not mentally normal, so physically. How do you come out of that? Everyone's striking everybody. Arrows are raining down. Horses are running through, right? Spears are being thrown.
I saw Kingdom of Heaven a few days ago.
How does anyone come out of that?
It's just like what you're saying.
So, Amin is laughing. He's the one who asked the question. Concubines. Bro, the cost of that, you're going to go in there. You're not going to know if you're going to come out with a nose, an arm. Okay. Did not the Prophet, peace be upon him, say, do not desire to meet the enemy? Yes, the Prophet said, don't desire to meet your enemy. Are there to eat in the bathroom? Yeah, chewing gum. Yeah, chewing gum. You're allowed to have it. Eat in the bathroom. It's not going to invalidate, like, if you're chewing gum or something like that. Obviously, you don't bring food in the bathroom for many obvious different reasons. Not as a prohibition, per se. It's not respectful to the food. It's also not a clean place. In general, bathrooms are places where, generally, you don't expect cleanliness there. What is the hikmah of forbidding sitting between the shade and the sunlight? Allahu Alam. I didn't think very much into that. Maliki Click, who's be joining us. When is joining us? Thursday? Maliki Click is joining us Thursday. Robert Carter, Swedish-American convert. Is he American or British? Swedish-British convert to Islam and a young journalist. He'll be joining us tomorrow to talk. Okay. But Maliki Click says, I'm ex-military. I can assure you, combat is not like a video game. There is much to lose. Okay. All right. Unless you're someone like the IDF plans to do and do it all by drones from now on. You know that's what the future of war is going to be. Just drones.
That's why every ground assault that IDF does,
Mm-hmm.
they get punched out.
Mm-hmm.
And you see these videos, these guys in Palestine are not scared.
Mm-hmm.
They're willing to die. They're doing what these people think they can do, but it's just like they've been surrounded by that their whole life. So like, it's just normalized for them.
Let me tell you something about hockey. Human beings created sports to replace war. what they love about war is the tribalism and the fight. What they hate about war is the consequences, right? So they created fake wars. Sports, football, hockey, these are people love these sports because we can go out with aggression, but no one really truly gets hurt. And there's a clear winner and a loser. So let me tell you an interesting thing about hockey. In the sport of hockey, like in many other sports, the sport of hockey is the most random of all sports, right? The puck is very small. The net is pretty big. It's very fast, okay? You can easily accidentally score. You can't do that in football. You can't do that in basketball or baseball. There's no accidental home run against yourself in baseball. There's no accidental, basket that you're going to score against yourself. Every time a point is earned in basketball, skill was done. There's some skill was behind it. It's not the case in hockey, right? It's very easy for a team that's not trying hard, but is really good, to lose to a team. Here, come get the cheese. To a team who's not that good, but is trying hard. Why? Because the game is it's random. It's like a massive pinball. No, I'm good. All right. As a result, there is a rule. Will beats skill. Every single time in this, unless you're a skillful team that matches the will of your opponent or even comes close. But a skilled team that is here in willpower versus the not best team, which is here in willpower, will lose. Now, check this out. Why is it? Another reason why there are so many upsets in sports, in the sport of hockey, is that, let's say the team makes the playoffs. They made the playoffs about a month before the playoffs came. A month before the playoffs started, they made the playoffs. There is no desperation in their game at all. Okay? Meanwhile, the last place team has been fighting for their life for 2 months. So when they come into the playoffs, who's in desperation mode? Who knows how to turn it on? The 8th place team. The last place team. It's already been on. And the top tier teams have been made the playoffs for 2 months almost. Like, they're shoo-in from January. They're shoo-in. You know they're going to make the playoffs. It's just a matter of where. Then they officially make the playoffs with like a month and a half to go, right? The desperation button has not been touched. It's too rusted. There's no desperation in their game anymore. When it comes time to push that button, they don't know where it is. They don't know. They literally, inside themselves, they can't turn it on. That's the value of will and desperation. So when you have people like Muslims, we're on all the time. At every turn, there's something resisting us. Even in peacetime, entertainment is sinful for us. Most of it is sinful. I want to sit back and I want to watch something. Half of it's haram. That's resistance, right? It's constant resistance. That's going to benefit us at some point. There is going to be a moment where now the tide shifts. That desperation mode, that fighting resistance is going to benefit us. And every fat nation, okay, every successful nation, when it comes time, they have been off. They haven't hit the desperation button in so long, they don't know where it is. And that's why David's beat Goliaths all the time. Yeah, I love that saying. Right? Good men create weak times and all that. Good times create weak men. Yeah. That's why in rich countries, the only real way to train yourself in this is to play a sport. Fighting, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing, that's haram. But other sports is because you have to simulate the desperation. You got to simulate being a David, because nothing in life is against you ever, right? Nothing in life is ever against you. It's always, with you or for you. It's never against you. There's never a time, oh my gosh, are we going to eat today? Right? They never have this. Oh my gosh, am I going to make it to the end of the block without a tiger? This is in Bangladesh, right? Or in India. Back in the ancient times, you want to go get water from the well, you got to check, is there a tiger there? Right? That's why they knew how to control them, right? There's no desperation mode. And that's why when I see that type of entitlement, I get really worried. Yeah. Now, Amin, all right, the question he's saying about all this is Shuyukh internationally misconstruing these texts. It depends who you're talking to be honest. If you have a guy from a family and they say, hey, what is that? What's going on in this new religion you joined, a convert? Do you guys have slavery in your religion? It's going to be a different answer to them because some people, you just want to quell them right away. And you say, no, the Ottoman Empire, you got to go? All right, man. Take care. Take care, man. See you tomorrow. You got to quell them. You say, yeah, the Ottoman Empire banned slavery before America banned slavery, which is the truth, right? As a policy, they can't change the religion of Allah, but they can make policies. By the way, we're allowed to make policies. Take care, Aziz. We're allowed to make policies, by the way. A Muslim nation, a mosque, anything, within the realm of there's like a gradient of things that is halal, you're allowed to say, in this country, we're not doing this. The Ottomans did that. They put an age for marriage, an age limit on marriage, by what they saw as beneficial in their world, without changing the religion of Allah. They said, we're not changing the religion of Allah, but in our country, this is what you're doing or not doing. Okay? Listen up. It's Q&A. We're taking a couple minutes here for Q&A. Lily Poppy, I'm looking for an American husband. I want a green card. Eddie? I'm sitting here with a man with flowing hair, mashallah. Mexican convert, but American. Fully American, right?
Mexican-American.
Okay. Let's try this sparkling apple.
That's very good.
What's up?
That was really good. This one's G, man. This platter she said tomorrow. He always gives us food.
Yeah.
He's gonna bring more, he said tomorrow.
MashaAllah. Okay. Samih says, Samih John, Sami John, Bosnian, Turkish maybe. The right wing is on the rise all over the West. Yeah, because it's simple, anger-fueled ideology, and people are getting poor in the West. I feel like their ideology is very easy, okay? But they don't seem to listen or have the capacity to listen. What should a Muslim do? And these guys are going to be our enemies, no doubt about that. I don't think they're ever going to be our friends. It's easier to deal with than the liberals who appear to be your friends, but when push comes to shove, they're not your friends. Chocolate Wild is about to roll out some dough. I mean, this is a good pizza, but you know what we need? We need to tell anyone who brings food, stick it in the oven. We have an oven downstairs. Stick it in the oven. When it's time for QA, then bring it out. Can women pray salat in wide pants? Inshallah, it will be valid, but it's preferable for a woman not to wear pants. If not, maybe some will even forbid it. Because of the potential it is to reveal the form, and the shirt should be long. Simply Saleh says, what are your thoughts on Madkhalis? I believe that Madkhali, firstly, what is a Madkhali? Madkhali is a tribe in the first place. From that tribe, a man came, Abu Rabi' al-Madkhali. I believe that he had some kind of a deal with the government, whether it was official or unofficial, to make sure that the Islam that you preach never bothers us, essentially. That's the summary of it. So he came up with this doctrine, which people later called al-Hakimiyya, where you never, ever, ever even talk, raise up any public discord against the king. Okay? So whenever the king disagrees with the shit or does something counter to the Sharia, they say something like, you can only advise him in private. Don't speak out against him because you're riling up revolution. And so that's where the concept comes from. In summary, you're basically, what's the word everyone uses these days? A shill? Basically someone doing the work of the governor, the governor of the sultan, the sheikh of the sultan, the scholars of the sultan, as they used to call them in the old times, ulama as-sultan, which is basically you're a hired gun for the sultan. And use your knowledge to always make sure no one ever speaks bad against the king. That's the idea of the Madkhalis. Right? And so there are some Madkhalis that if you look at the reaction to the last 7 weeks, all they've been doing is gunning at Muslims and how they've been, what about their protest is sinful, saying no word against Israel itself because they know that their government has become friendly with Israel and wants to normalize. Okay. All right, here's another question from Ahmed Salim. Can we get old school Safina Society podcast with the crew? Mu'in, Saad, and Ilyas. Yes, inshallah, it's doable. Should we make hijrah if it's a viable option? You should always go to somewhere where the sharia can be practiced more than less, if it's possible. And if you have good people there and things can be practiced easily and better there, you should always do that. As a recommendation. It's not a fard upon, we can't say it's fard to make that hijrah, but you take some. All right, Amin says, how do we tackle Albani's line of thought? Man has existence, Allah has existence. So what's the difference? Oh, then there's no existence. Big difference. Very simple. And it was answered already here by Khalil Hamza. Allah exists from himself with no beginning, no end. Completely self-sufficient. Has no needs. And will never come out of existence. And his existence is a necessary reality. Our existence is only because Allah brought us into existence. While we're existent, we need sustenance, as you can see here, right? We need sustenance. And our existence can come out of existence easily, could end. And it's not necessary. It's by choice. Simple answer to that.
Imam al-Sabuni actually mentions this in Al-Bidayah.
Yeah, what does he say?
He brings it up, how Jahm bin Safwan, one of his lines of reasoning, it was along this track of how, well, you guys are saying Allah exists and that, we exist. Yeah. There's clearly something going on here, right? Mm-hmm. But then Imam al-Sabuni, what he mentions is it's lafzi, because basically the way we speak, right? The existence is the highest genus. Yeah. Right? There's no higher jins than existence. Yeah. So in terms of like how we speak, of course we're gonna have to speak in this way and say existence for Allah, existence for us, or else we're not gonna be able to communicate. So it's really a non-issue. It's just something that has to do with language.
People say, you say that Allah is not like humans, but I love and Allah loves. I have mercy and Allah has mercy. There's a very different type of mercy, right? A very different type of rahmah, all right? Your rahmah is only because Allah allowed you to have it. You have mercy upon somebody because it was a feeling placed into your heart. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is self-sustaining. That's why some people said, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani lists 14 possibilities for the greatest of Allah's names. If he's asked by it, he grants whatever you ask. And he says one of them is Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, the living and self-sustaining. It's a difference. Okay, let's go to some other questions here. AK, should we teach kids how to deal with negative emotions? Yes, of course. Or should we not introduce terms like jealousy, disappointment, etc.? We should introduce to them concepts that are very bad if they grow. So the moment you see someone having envy, we have to point out the disease, the stain on the clothes in order to wash it. And the source. You have envy. Why do you have envy? Allah chose for this person to have what he has and for you to have what they have. So don't have envy. Why is it in the history of Islam that the righteous people and the awliya seem to be father and son all the way down? Why is it that it seems to be every righteous scholar that you read his biography, right? And he was a very pious wali of Allah in our estimation, and Allah knows best who is his awliya, but we can estimate and speculate. Otherwise, why would Allah have told us the signs of a wali? So I see all the signs of wilaya on somebody, I can say, I speculate, in my opinion, he's wali, and Allah knows best. You see, oh, his father was very righteous. Oh, his mother was very righteous. His grandmother was very righteous, right? Why? Because they're treating the hearts at a very young age. So the envy is crushed out very early on. Just like you can go to some parts of of town, and the kids, they come out like young adults. They're dressed, they're clean, they stand upright, they know how to talk to somebody. You go to other parts of town where they don't have those positive entitlements. Those are good entitlements. They're unclean, they're slouched, they don't know how to look an adult in the eye, they don't know how to talk to anybody, they have no concept what's happening in the world. Why? It's the tarbiyah, right? So likewise, there is a tarbiyah of the heart. From a very young age, okay, from a very young age, they're taught, this is envy. What you just did here, that's a sign of envy. When you feel that in your heart, remove it. How do I remove it? Remember, Allah is the distributor of all things. Don't disagree with Allah. Go work on for yourself. There's never going to be a limit in the blessing. If Allah gives somebody a blessing, make dua for him. And ask Allah, I want a blessing like that too. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with somebody seeing somebody blessed and say, may Allah bless him, increase him, let him enjoy it. And oh Allah, I like it. Give me something like that too. There's nothing wrong with that. You think there is a limit? And that's a problem, that people believe there's a limit. If he has it, I can't have it. That's not how the world works. That's not how the world works. What are your thoughts on Egypt being mostly silent? They have to. Agnes Maverick. You ever watch American football? Okay. There's a position there called a tight end. He could receive a pass, but if he doesn't receive a pass, what does he do? He blocks. Egypt is nothing other than a blocker, right? They're on the offensive line. They block for Israel. That's all they do. And they get paid for that. They get paid very well, a ton of money. But of course, because of their sins, Allah has not blessed them, and their country's a mess and everyone's poor, right? But I know all the Sisi supporters will disagree with that, and there are many Shi'ukh who are Sisi supporters. Every time I speak about this, they say, oh, you're Ikhwan. What Ikhwan? I cannot name one member of the Ikhwan, right? And I've never opened one book of Muslim Brotherhood. I don't know anything about Muslim Brotherhood. But when you see a reality, it's very hard to ignore the fact that I think we all know Egypt is a blocker for Israel. That's all they do. They block. They're like a offensive lineman. Right? When U.S. wants them there to block, make sure there's no extremism pouring through the borders or extremist ideas, because Egypt is so influential. If its government were to change, if its people were to change, the whole Arab world would change with it. They're so influential, culturally speaking, not financially, but culturally. Even financially, way back in the past, they supplied the food. Like Sudan, Algeria, and Egypt were the best places to supply food. And anyway, if Allah is the eternal Khaliq, but he has makhluk that is not eternal, why can't he, as the eternal mutakallim, have a non-eternal kalam? He does have a non-eternal kalam. It's called al-kalam al-nafsi. Allah's speech is eternal, with him, pre-eternal. It's called his speech within himself, al-kalamun nafsi, and it is not have any attributes of creation, no beginning, no end, no parts. Okay. Scholars say, as an example, and of course Allah is the greatest of examples, and there's no metaphor similar to Allah, but they give a metaphor just to bring the meaning. You have a meaning. Everyone who writes a letter, he has a meaning in his mind. The purpose of the letter is in his mind, right? Then he writes the letter. So the pen is created, the paper is created, the ink is created, but the meaning is not created, right? So we say the Arabic language is created. This is a created language. But we don't say the Quran is created. But the Quran is divided into kalam nafsi and kalam lafzi. The kalam nafsi is what is with him from pre-eternally, with no parts, no beginning, no end, right? No sound, no letters, nothing like that. And the kalam lafzi is that kalam in a manner which we can recite in a created language. No one can deny that Arabic is created. Okay, and that's why the theologians of the Asha'ira came up with the kind of idea of al-kalam al-nafsi wal-kalam al-lafzi. What is the difference between Madkhalis and Randkhalis? The Madkhalis are Salafi Wahhabis and the Rand types are Sufis. But essentially both of them toe the line. Hafsa says, this is open QA. Are women allowed to lead themselves in congregation? The answer is yes, in the Shafi'i and Hanbali madhabs only. No in the Maliki and Hanafi schools, because they never saw this happen with the companions. Which is the best Arabic dialect to learn? Probably the Egyptian one, because everyone else understands it. Lorna is asking why Egypt has to be silenced. Egypt, I don't believe they truly have a will of their own. They're so in debt. They're so intertwined with the United States that I don't really truly believe that they have a will of their own. The government, at least. Can converts be from the Awliya? Let's remember all the Sahaba were Awliya except for very few. Were converts. All the companions were converts. Not converts from Christianity, which at least is people of the book. No, converts from paganism. Okay? So they were all beyond awliya on top of that. So the answer is yes. And not only that, it maybe have a faster route because they have an immediate fight. Whereas me and Omar, we may have family support. You may not have family support. Right? So you have a fight. And so here's the thing. Born Muslims, oftentimes, they may have a head start. But they don't have the resistance. They don't know what it means to fight for being a Muslim. Converts feel that, oh, I don't have the head start. I don't have the family support. I don't have Arabic. Yeah, but you have something else, which is resistance, right? Also, you have a head start as a born Muslim, but you're like the 40th generation of Muslims, right? You're just doing what everyone else in your family did, right? A born Muslim will say, if the thought comes to leave Islam, they can't. It would be too much of a headache. Too many arguments. Call it a day, right? But a convert, he is the first in a long line, right? He's the first in the lineage. It's very easy for him to leave Islam, okay? Just by looking at the family dynamic. Family dynamic-wise, he could easily leave Islam. They'll be applauded if he leaves Islam. They get that reward. The Bornies don't get that reward. Habib, yes, the Abu Bakr al-Adani, he has a lot of knowledge on eschatology, and maybe we can get a guest on that. Khalil Hamza says, I'm in Norway, but I can't get Dr. Zaidi's book. Maybe you have a friend in England who can order it and then ship it to you. Okay. Which Twitter and X handles should we follow? It's a good question. There's a lot in terms of Palestine if you want Palestine stuff. Go to prop&co. Follow him. Jackson Hinkle has been very good. He's an American communist. Not a communist. He's an American-Russian supporter. I think he's banned from the United States. He's totally like, he's married into a Russian family. He's friends with Putin. But he's an American guy. I don't know what the deal is with him, right? I'm surprised Putin doesn't think he's a spy or something, because he is so overtly pro-Russia, explicitly pro-Russia, right? But he happens to be good on the Palestine stuff. Jake Shields has been great. Loki has been great. Who's I guess a rapper who turned into a journalist.
There's a couple others. There's one, Lucas Gage.
Lucas Gage has been great on this stuff.
Sam Parker is one.
Sam Parker is another one. Rabbi Shmuley for entertainment purposes. It's been over a month of Palestinian resistance. What do we do? Just do what you can do, whether that's voicing yourself, expressing yourself, things like that. Let me, hey, Omar, it's Giving Tuesday, folks. You have to give. We are still collecting for Umrah for Youth. Can you put that up? Umrah for Youth is what we're collecting for. We haven't really talked about it for like a month and a half now. But Umrah for Youth is a program to try to get high schoolers to Umrah. And we have 20 kids registered so far. The cost is extremely high given the winter break, but that's the only time many high schoolers can do this. So kindly support us with $2, $3, $4, $50, $100, $1,000, whatever you can, to get us to our $25,000 goal, okay, to try to decrease the price of youth for Umrah. Okay, that's what we want to do. We want to decrease the price for young people to go to Umrah. And of course, high schoolers can only go in December because they only get 2 days off for Thanksgiving. Spring break, every school has a different spring break. Summertime, it's very hot. So I like to take them during December. They have a great time. Okay. Maya Rehab. You know, Maya is one of our best young students at ArcView. What is a Wahhabi? See, that's the kind of student we need to have. You never even heard the name before. Stay as you are. But if you see it, go the other way. Okay? Is the Quran in heaven in Arabic? Yes, it is in Arabic. Yes, it's in Arabic. And the Torah is in its own language. And the Injil was brought into this world in its own language. And all of these books are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with himself in no language. What happens when Hamas, is it acceptable that they hit civilian infrastructure? Very good question. It's basically what Piers Morgan keeps saying, do you condemn Hamas? The answer to that is to do a Ash'ari Tafsiri version of it. The general concept of resistance, not only do you support it, but by the UN charters and their own UN standards, they're allowed to, right? Any apartheid type of system, you're allowed to resist it, okay? All right, you're allowed to resist it. So that in general, the resistance is something that any person with any common sense and with a heart would support if you see how they're living. As for the specifics, it is possible, likely, and expected that the resistance will make mistakes. It's possible the resistance I shouldn't say the ego, but the better phrase is to say that their anger gets the best of them, and they may do something unlawful. That's very possible, right? So we condemn what's unlawful, and we generally support the resistance. How simple is that? That's how simple it is. Coca-Cola, I love you very much, but FYI, he's pro-Assad, and he denies the crimes committed by Assad. Yes, he is just a Russian. I'm starting to wonder if he's actually a human being. And there is a person that shows up there, right? In the pictures, in his profile page, or driving around with Putin. There is a person. But that page is a team. No doubt about it. There's no way that's I think Russian paid, for sure Russian paid. Where else is he going to make his money? Russian paid team, and coming as if it's just this blonde American. Have you ever heard Jackson Hinkle speak? I think we did. So I think he is an American guy for sure. He has been on interviews. So he is more legit than I thought. Yeah. But for sure that's a page. It's a team putting his stuff together. It just happens to be good in Palestine.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we're going to back everything he does. Like, obviously, a lot of these people, even Jake Shields, all these guys have issues probably.
Yeah, they all have stuff that we agree with and disagree with. It's just something we happen to agree with. AK says, I'm putting together a curriculum for a halakha for kids in Wickham, age 6 to 10. Dealing with emotions. Is it okay to include positive V and negative V? What do you mean by plus V? But yeah, it is. It's good to deal with emotions, and we should call them diseases of the heart or virtues of the heart. That's what they're called. How do we fix the part of this new generation that is aspiring into self-destruction, says Muhammad? The answer is teach them discipline. Nothing just comes for free. Things have to come after effort is put. And there has to be discipline. There has to be the ability to shut off the screen and sit in front of a book for an hour. Discipline. There has to be physical activity. There has to be push-ups. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I like his dad. No breakfast until you give me 10 push-ups. I love that. Should do that with my next son. No push-ups till you go. Dinner, 10 push-ups. What's the best country to live with 4 wives? With my 4 wives, he said. He's already got 4 wives. With wives, concubines. You're 18, bro. You gave it away. You got 1 wife. Guarantee you don't have 1 wife. He's 18. Concubines, wives. Listen, I don't know. Maybe Morocco? Who knows? I don't know the law there, actually. Pakistan, Saudi. Imran, personal message. Someone said your voice sounds angry. I shared your halal meat related video on the response of Asim and Hakim, but the person understood your point. So it's more of a statement. Okay. Muslim Cowboy, follow him because he is a Texan who converted to Islam, and his part where he does dawah is very similar to where the Madkhalis clique does dawah. They're dealing with a population that we don't know how to deal with. And he says here, did cowboy hats and boots really come from the Madkhalis and Andalus? Ooh, you need to look that up for us. So much did, I'm sure. Is allowed to give juice to your daughter to take Christmas breakfast to school? So the class is having Christmas breakfast and your daughter was assigned the juice. I mean, no. No, Christmas is a religious holiday. Be absent that day. Go late. Yeah, book a doctor's appointment. Okay. What's the ruling on taking non-combatants as hostages to bargain with the enemy? Very good question. Very good question. But I think that we cannot aggress upon non-combatants. I don't believe that we can by Sharia. Okay. I don't believe that we can do that. Come to England soon. I love carbs. What to do? Eat them in the morning and then stop after like Maghrib. So you burn them off at least. Or stop at Asr. Madkhalis Clicks show is called The Revival of Man. He's huge on TikTok. Okay. No pizza till you do your push-ups. I did my push-ups already. Don't worry about me. Can you get Dr. Gabor on? Gabor Mate. Omar? Luke says, the Sahaba traveled to places without Islam to spread the truth. Yet if Muslims from the West make hijrah to a more Islamic country, are they not abandoning an important opportunity to spread Islam? Yes. That's a good point. But there is a concept of save yourself first. We have to remember that. So if, we can break it down, if you have the opportunity, you fear for your religion, then hijrah is better. If you have support for your religion by a masjid, community, scholars around you, and you're able to make a difference, then inshallah your stay here will not be forbidden or sinful for you. Do you know where Abdul Hakim is? I haven't heard from him in a while. I don't know him. I know him personally, but not like very close. But I do know him, and he's from Cambridge, obviously. But I think you're asking like where are his statements, right? I don't know that, to be honest with you. Canvas Courtyard, $25,000 Umrah collection can get way more mileage. Basic needs for Palestine. Can we redirect the funds? No, we're funding for both. We're funding for both. The Umrah is not going for some luxury Umrah just for no reason. It's youth, mainly public school youth. Not all. Some homeschooled, some Muslim schooled. The youth have needs. That doesn't mean others don't have needs. And so we have to give everyone their needs. We have raised, how much did we raise, Omar? 70,000 British pounds? We raised 70,000 British pounds. Far more than $25 for Palestine. Will Israel exist until Imam al-Mahdi? Yes, because where do you think the last final battle is that the Prophet talks about? We've raised 68,000 British pounds. Yeah, 68.5 thousand British pounds. Lily Rose says, can he change the intention and still bring the juice to so his daughter isn't let down, and so that is food for the sake of food rather than Christmas? No, you can't. Because some things are just judged by the result. What is the result? Everyone's having a Christmas party and you supplied the juice. Intention doesn't change that. But why wouldn't the daughter be let down? Where is the toughness? Where is it? Yeah, bint. Okay. Yeah, sit down, young daughter. Aisha, Fatima. If she's Pakistani, you could say Saliha. Okay. We don't celebrate Christmas. Where's the letdown about that? It's an imagined letdown. There's no letdown about that. Oh, all my friends are doing it. That's okay. That's okay. We don't celebrate Christmas. Oh, they're going to resent Islam. No, they're not. They're not going to resent Islam. You have to believe that kids have brains. Oh, we're in this situation. I'm a convert. We're immigrants. Whatever it is. The whole world celebrates Christmas. The whole country does. The whole class does. We don't. It's not going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal if the parents say, oh, they're going to resent Islam. Oh, she's going to be sad. Okay, you'll be sad for what, 5 minutes? Fine, let's go do something else instead that day, right? We'll go have our own, go to Dunkin' Donuts.
Do you think there's a need for like parents and stuff making Eid more enjoyable, at least for kids?
It's never going to be...
At least like something to make the kids like excited. I feel like growing up, like we never had that.
It's never going to be the same because when the whole society is celebrating Christmas And at least in my day, when everyone used to celebrate Christmas, the whole neighborhood is lit up. You can't replicate that with 1 or 2 households, right?
Not like decorating, but just like having a little bit of a culture or an environment.
You have to have that. You gotta have that.
Economically, it's supported too. Like
Yeah.
Black Friday and stuff like that.
Yeah. They now have Eid on the flyers because we have a lot of Muslims in North Brunswick, so they have Eid on the flyers and stuff. Can women go for Umrah with only female groups? A woman can go to Hajj and Umrah by herself without a mahram, but it's preferable if there is some kind of group where the women have a mahram with them. Like some women have a mahram with them and some don't. And so there's safety in the group. But nonetheless, it is permissible for a woman to go without a mahram to Hajj and Umrah. Hajj even more so than Umrah. But they did lump in Umrah with it. Maybe like the first Umrah, because in some fiqh, that's for the first Umrah is a fard to do it once in your life. Sorry, it's a sunnah that is stronger to do than the other. Some said it's fard, but it's not the dominant opinion there. All right, Umrah. Who wants to go to Umrah with us? The prices are high, I'm warning you. But it is going to be an amazing December Umrah. Okay. Can you put it up? The application, the website, and the link to not the donating, but the actual signing up for the Umrah. Yeah, and put that up too. It's December 22nd to January 1st. Darussalam.com/Umrah Youth 2023. You would have to fly over to JFK or meet us there, either one. Like fly over us here in New Jersey. Probably could spend a day or two here. Then we all go together. All right, folks, a long stream today because we had a lot of time to make up. Plus, I've been sitting here with this pizza. So let's do one more plug. If you want to join us for Umrah, here it is. Here's all the poster for it. Either you fly into to the area here and go with us to JFK, or meet us there. Okay. But again, it's down there. dstworldtravel.com/youth 2023. A few spots left. Okay. Only a few spots left. Can you do a stream describing Judgment Day? Yes, inshallah. Yep. Samih John, is it possible to join in from Europe too? Yes. You contact the website, tell them I want the land package, I'll get my own flight. Okay. Land package? The hotel. Yeah. Not the flights. It's land package is basically someone who says, I'll get myself there. You just give me the hotel. Okay. What's Instagram saying? Aisha from Karachi, possible to join Umrah group? Yes, just tell them to buy the land package. And high schoolers, they get $1,300 off. High schoolers get $1,300 off the trip. So if you're a high schooler, just go for the high schooler one and you'll see a little bit of a discount. And that's what we plan to do this year. Hopefully every year we get better and better and better at this. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to say this. We got to stop here. Tomorrow we are on with Robert Carter. Thursday we're on with Maliki Click Ali. Inshallah ta'ala. So jazakumullah khairan everybody. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.